Hello, welcome to another episode of Marketing Chit Chat with Laura Greeno and Brandon Utley. Hey, Brandon. Ooh, he's got the headphones today. He's
Yeah, I don't even
serious,
think they're working. So
very
it's all
serious.
good.
I love it. Okay, so today we are chatting about Google Analytics. I didn't really give a good, descriptive what we're gonna funnel it down to some focus on what we're gonna talk about. But so we're meeting up. We haven't talked beforehand. I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about attribution and UTMs, but I think Brandon, you've got a more broad perspective of what you want to chat about. So I'll let you go ahead and start.
Yeah, you mentioned Google Analytics, and that's certainly one tool out of many that people can use. But at a high level, I just thought we could chat for a couple of minutes about analytics in general, because I think a lot of people, there's two schools of thought that I see. People either ignore analytics and think they're too complicated and confusing, so they don't really take advantage of using analytics. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have like data geeks who just pour over and analyze data to the nth degree, and then they often get analysis paralysis, or they go off on these crazy tangents. And you've probably seen people like that in your past as well, where they're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, 1 month of variability on their website traffic, and they're calling like an emergency meeting. What happened? Why is our traffic down 3%? Whatever stupid thing it is. And then they just
Yeah.
get all crazy and they start making decisions based on, not a huge set of data, things like that. So
Yeah.
I, yeah.
I call that the daily and sometimes weekly freak out for sure.
Yeah. And you and I have seen that a lot with different clients over the years. And again, it's just because some people are sort of math oriented, right? And so their brain just goes to give me the data. Oh my God, the data is not as good as I want it to be. Why is it not? Right. And oftentimes there's reasons for that, and you have to talk them off the ledge, et cetera. But on the first end of that spectrum, people that don't understand analytics and don't take advantage of them, that's a real shame, because there's a lot of tools out there like Google Analytics, totally free, gives you all kinds of insight. And this is not, it's your fault if you don't use them, right? The other thing, though, I wanted to just touch on is that there's a lot of points of data that can be considered fluff, to be honest. Now, everybody, like marketers, sometimes are very guilty of putting all these fluff pieces of data on paper or digitally or whatever, because they want to demonstrate that something is happening, right? But a lot of those are kind of meaningless to a degree, or they can at least be misleading. So for example, if you go to your client and say, look, we're getting website traffic. Look, it's like the needle is going up, right? But it's not much traffic, but at least there's some traffic. Or the worst is social media, where you can go back to people and say, hey, look, we've gotten so many more followers, or we've gotten a few more likes or comments or whatever. A lot of those are just kind of vanity metrics is another way to look at it. Those can be important, but you have to ultimately correspond to what is happening with actions that people are taking, because a social media like or a comment is not leading to a sale. And ultimately, marketing is an assist for sales, right? So I look for more hard numbers, like, are people not only coming to the website, but are they filling out the forms? Do we have a funnel built so that they're taking action towards moving in a direction that we want them to go? Are they signing up to attend a webinar? Are they downloading our ebooks or other pieces of information? And most importantly, are they signing up to meet with our salespeople? And ultimately, can we tie those sales conversions when the cash register rings back, go back through the activities and go, aha, yeah, they came into the funnel. It took them a while, but they eventually bought. And so we can measure our ROI. I just want to make sure that people are thinking in terms of, don't get too hung up on all the vanity metrics, and focus more on what is really moving the needle. What do you think about that, Laura?
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. I want to kind of tell or let people know if there is, right? Thanks everybody for joining, by the way. I always forget to thank you and say hello. But if there are business owners that have joined us today, which that's our typical audience is marketers and business owners, just know that any marketer who uses Google Analytics can make the data say anything they want. If
Mm.
they want it to look good, they can make it look good. So just know that's another one of those trust things. It's terrible, but that's why so many digital marketing agencies kind of mess with people because they are using the data to their benefit instead of giving the real data that the customer needs to see in a plain and exact way. This is the good, this is the bad, instead of just showing this is all the good. So if I wanted to, I could just show you all the good, but that's not how I work, and that's not how the people that I work with work. But I've seen it endless numbers of times as I've audited other companies. So that I just wanted to say. Um, yes, I agree totally with the, I'm almost more down to I actually like to see revenue per visit, revenue per channel, conversion to revenue. Like because when you're e-commerce, you're selling something online.
Yeah.
You are mostly talking about like a longer sale or a lead generation only tool, not just selling something online. So I like to make it into numbers. And even when it is just lead generation, did this go to a salesperson? Did this make it to the salesperson offline? Even then, I want to do that attribution or that goal, right? I want to put a number on it. I'm going to put a value on that lead. And inside of Google Analytics, you can do that, right? You put a number on the value of that lead, and then you end up with, estimates of what a lead is, what value comes from this particular channel versus this particular channel. So you can decide how much you want to spend on this, if it's bringing in XYZ, or not spend or stop spending in this other area. So yes, keep going.
Yeah, and you definitely have a different and unique perspective when you talk about e-commerce, because if you've set up a good e-commerce site, obviously you can make sales readily, right? Versus a lot of the clients I work with that are selling a B2B service, and that is not something that somebody can click a buy button on. They have to engage with the company, talk to them about their needs, sign NDAs, get proposals, go through months typically of negotiations before they actually sign stuff up. So that's a little bit harder for people like me who work with companies like that, because, unfortunately on a weekly basis, you're looking at more of those. Yeah, people came into the funnel. We got more leads in the bucket, if you will. But they're always asking, well, yeah, but what about the conversions? It's like that number is dwindles as you get closer and closer to the bottom of the funnel. It can be a little frustrating for everybody because sometimes those cycles are long. And on a week to week, it's like watching bread bake in the oven. Like if you're just staring at it, like nothing's happening for minutes and minutes. Like you need to walk away sometimes and come back and go, okay, let's just look at it on a more monthly basis or every other month or something. Because from week to week, stuff happens. People get busy, stuff happens in the economy, whatever. Stuff drags on longer than it usually people estimate. So it sucks to, every week when I go on some of these calls, like, how much better is it from last week? Not much, right? But you're getting closer and closer. And then occasionally you get those big hits and the wins where like you just close a $500,000 deal. All right, now we can tell you it came from this and it took 6 months to get here. Right. Whereas for e-commerce, talk about that more, because that is more close to real time, because from day to day, really, if you're an e-commerce company, you're watching it much more closely. Like you are standing in front of the oven going, how much did it rise in the last day? Right. Because you can't wait a week or whatever. You need to know, hey, what's broken? Are people dropping out at this part of the cart? Why is that? We need to fix that immediately, or test it, A/B test it, to figure out what needs to be done so that more people put stuff in and actually hit PayPal or put their Visa number in there and hit buy, right?
Yeah. The daily view for e-commerce is important from lots of perspectives, right? Because you could be doing a sale, 1 day sale. You could be doing a flash sale. You could be an immediate kind of thing. One of the real reasons I want my e-commerce people to be looking at it daily is actually for the technology piece. So
Mm,
if you see, right, something is wrong on the front end of a website, meaning not server side, which you can get notifications from, the developers can get notifications on the server side if something has happened or if something's off or different. But on the front end side, there isn't or aren't any good tools made yet that I've found for like quick notifications. Something is wrong on this particular buy page, landing page, whatever, checkout page, something is wrong here because it took this long for this to happen, or it didn't happen when it normally happens.
mm,
So those kind of front end, and you're only going to hear that if your customer calls and says, I tried to buy something, but it didn't work. Can you
mm-hmm.
get me through it? That's the only way you're going to know, unless you're watching trends, right? What usually happens, and you're looking for the outliers, like how long did it take so much longer, or did so many more people drop off than they usually do at this particular page? So those are really specific on the e-commerce, and it's really fast. On the B2B kind of longer sales side of things, I do like to get creative on the conversion, right? And attributing dollar amounts to a value to a lead, or a lead from this channel or that channel. I absolutely do that inside of Google Analytics and outside of Google Analytics, because you're determining the numbers outside, right? And then you go find where they came from, and then you set that up inside of Google Analytics with a revenue dollar. It might be an estimate, but over time, I mean, you could change it anytime you want. Over time, it's best to kind of like be conservative with your estimate, and then make it closer to real as time goes by, as years goes by, right? Years.
Yeah.
Like if the guy got a $500,000 sale, you need a couple of years of data to really know what that one lead from that one channel was actually worth.
Yeah, I agree. And another way to think about it is sometimes people get tripped up on trying to assign a dollar value. For example, I'm thinking of a client where we have an ongoing email campaign in place that's like 8 emails, sequence, right? And so we're always trying to figure out, okay, when email 5 goes out and it finally triggers somebody to respond and get in touch with them, it's hard to place a dollar value on that. But what you can do instead is create a lead score, right? And so that's a way that you can also consider building your funnel, is that, you assign a different point value, if you will, for
Yeah.
somewhere deeper in the funnel, or some other piece of information. Like if I download like a general information about your company, that's one thing. But if I download pricing, and I'm also visiting your pricing page 12 times in 3 days and this and that, that score should be higher, right? So you can kind of also do that. And in a lot of these systems, CRMs will help you set up that type of lead scoring, and then triggers. And so that's great analytics data points, because that way your salesperson or managers or whatever can get email notification. Hey, this Laura Greeno person just hit a score of 50 on our scale, which indicates that we think she's a pretty significant or serious buyer at this point in time. It's not always 100%, because you could be a competitor trying to download everything possible to see what your competitor's up to. Or you could just be one of these information gatherers. There's lots of us out there that are like dutifully doing our job, getting all the stuff from HubSpot or whatever. And, that's when a salesperson has to engage with you and kind of vet you out and say, are you serious? Are you just kicking the tires? Are you just consuming a bunch of crap, putting in your library? Where are you? Right. I've been there as a prospect. HubSpot's a great example. They called me years ago and were like, you downloaded all this stuff. Are you getting ready to buy or not? And I was basically like, I'm not your buyer. I buy on behalf of other people. Right. So you're not going to see me. I don't need it, but my customers need it. So that's why, I'm getting, so they are, all right, cool. And then they can flag me in their CRM like, he's an advocate. Let him keep downloading all that he wants, but
Doesn't need a
don't
call.
bother, or maybe stick me on a 6-month follow-up call. Maybe I changed my mind and I want it for my agency or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's, so I think you've made some great points as well there. And I know we're probably coming up on time closely, but I want to get you to wrap us up on this subject.
Yeah. Just one quick thing you mentioned about triggers. So I heard, wait, have you used Google Analytics 4 yet for any clients?
Not. No.
Me either. And I'm like, I really want to. Like, I really want it. But I move on from clients after so many months. So I might put it in place and have their team use it, but I haven't gotten to like dig in. So, but there's one piece of the pie, that predictive analytics piece, which they put a little bit of that in Google Analytics 3, right? But and give you kind of high level, but in 4 there's this piece of the pie where you can set up the triggers to immediately and automatically start an email chain based on these predictive analytics, like future probability, not just what already happened, but are they most likely, is this user most likely to purchase, most likely to, churn, go away, or most likely to make a purchase today or make a purchase 6 months from today. So I think that is fascinating, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So if there's anybody who wants me to dig into their GA4 for some R&D, I would love to. But maybe we should have somebody on who's been in that a lot. I know.
I think we should do a follow-up just specifically for predictive data analytics, forecasting, because I'm glad you touched on that, but that's a whole other topic. So good to tee that up for a future conversation.
So next week, Brandon and I are going to chat about AI copy or machine learning copy or not user generated, but machine generated copy, and how to use it or not use it, or when to use it, when not to. I don't know how we're going to go into it, but we'll be talking about that next week. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.